When the British handed Uganda independence on October 9, 1962, at then Kololo Independence Square, the Queen's representative, the Duke of Kent, handed over the constitutional instruments of independence to the executive prime minister at that time, Milton Obote, Sir Edward Mutesa II, then Kabaka of the Buganda Kingdom, and who in 1963 was elected by Parliament to be the first president of Uganda, stood next to the Milton Obote during the ceremony. Since then, Uganda has traveled on a journey full of terrible economic and political changes. These changes made Uganda, small as it is, a unique country in Africa compared to other African countries. Uganda is unique in such a way that in East and Central Africa, it is the only country that has had 9 presidents since independence, compared to other African countries in the same region which have had 3 or 4 presidents since independence, even when most of them achieved independence almost at the same time in the 1960s. What is surprising again is that 5 of the 9 Ugandan presidents came into power unceremoniously with gunfire, and 5 of the 9 presidents went out of power unceremoniously with gunfire behind them. On the whole, Uganda's political journey from independence has been bloody and full of political upheavals, which included military coup d'etats and the attack on the Buganda Palace at Mengo by troops of the first Obote government on May 24, 1966. At the time, there was a terrible political disagreement between 2 Ugandan leaders who were friends at the beginning, President Edward Mutesa II and Prime Minister Milton Obote. The end result was a military attack on the Kabaka's palace at Mengo by Obote's troops on that date. The Kabaka, Sir Edward Mutesa II, managed to escape from the palace and fled into exile in England, where he passed away in November 1969. It was later alleged but never proved that Obote's dreaded spy network, which was known as the General Service Unit, sent a female secret agent to London, and she managed to get access to the Kabaka and poisoned him during his birthday party on November 19th, 1969. After exiling the Kabaka, Obote installed himself as president. He abolished the Buganda Kingdom and other kingdoms of Bunyoro Kitara, Tolo, Ankore and Busoga, and declared Uganda a republic. He then abolished the 1962 constitution, which had made Buganda a federal state within Uganda with some limited political power. Parliament adopted the 1967 Republican Constitution, which was popularly known as the Pigeonhole Constitution because each member of Parliament was told to pick his copy in his pigeonhole in Parliament. The army occupied the palace at Mengo for 27 years, and it was named Marile Barracks, and Bulange was turned into the army headquarters. Obote banned all political parties except UPC, thus making Uganda a one political party state. The country witnessed the banning of political parties and terrible flouting of democracy by Milton Obote. The country could not hold scheduled general elections. Obote detained very many Baganda and non-Baganda politicians who were friendly to Buganda. During his time, remember, one of the Langi ministers made a declaration that the Lango dynasty will rule for 60 years. Instead, Obote ruled for 5 years until January 25, 1971, when he was overthrown by his friend and army commander Idi Amin Dada. When Idi Amin took over on January 25, 1971, the country was gripped with excitement. He released many politicians whom Obote had detained. But it was not long before Obote was toppled in a military coup by General Idi Amin Dada. If Obote had not attacked the seat of the Kabaka of Buganda at Mengo, then the country would have had the general elections in 1967, and it could have had the next elections in 1972. but the elections of 1967 did not happen because of Obote, and that of 1972 did not happen because of Amin. As Uganda celebrates its 59th anniversary of its independence on Saturday, many say that all these years have been sordid stories of unfulfilled promises. The landlocked country in East Africa, encompassing the snow-capped Rwenzori Mountains and vast Lake Victoria, was occupied by the British Empire in 1894. 58 years later, in 1962, the country got independence. Since independence from the Britain in 1962, the East African nation has endured a military coup followed by a brutal military dictatorship which ended in 1979, disputed elections in 1980, and 5-year war that brought current President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni in power in 1986. The country has also had to contend with a brutal 20-year insurgency in the north led by the Lord's Resistance Army. While the country has won praise for its vigorous campaign against HIV/AIDS, it has also attracted international attention for its hardening stance against the LGBT community. Yoweri Museveni and his national resistance movement have ruled Uganda without interruption since seizing power in 1986. Museveni won the 2011 presidential elections after a 2005 constitutional amendment lifted presidential term limits, and went on to win again in 2016. The opposition and independent observers have complained about the fairness and transparency of these and earlier polls. In 2017, Parliament voted to remove the 75-year age limit for presidential candidates, clearing the way for President Museveni to run for a 6th term in office. Mr. Museveni has been credited with restoring relative stability and economic prosperity to Uganda following years of civil war and repression under former leaders Milton Obote and Idi Amin Dada. But he has also faced UN criticism for his role in the conflict in DR Congo. More recently, Uganda has been accused of aiding rebels there. Recently, the country underwent general elections that saw President Museveni win another term in office until 2026, with many disagreeing with the results. As the nation is still battling the COVID-19 pandemic, many citizens are unhappy about how the government has handled the crisis. While some people think that we are fully independent, others think we still depend a lot on richer countries, and so we are not totally independent. On the Chit Chat today, we ask, what makes you proud of being a Ugandan? Conversations that build and inspire your mind.